Hello and welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is today I'm going to be looking at a ticker with the name NSPR. Uh, it belongs to InspireMD Incorporation. So this stock has had an offering, so it's an offering play. Offering plays are a little bit different, so I'm going to be looking at it in a more of a different scope today. Now this stock has averaged somewhere around 60-ish region to around 70 region, and before a drop it was around 80, I would say, to 90s region, which is a good area to be in. This stock has as well seen a really massive jump today with the pullback that it has received afterwards, and I'll go through that in a little. Now, when we're looking at these data here, with that jump, the market has actually corrected itself afterwards, so we have to look at it more of a closer look. We can see that the MACD negative histogram is actually recovering and is going to possibly turn a bit more in the positive direction a bit more. So this probably would be a good hold for a stock. Now, when we're looking to the 1 month, 1 hour, we're able to draw the Fibonacci retracement lines. We get to see that there is a retracement line around the 73 region and around 64 region, and again around 54. So these are probable rebound positions. Now, we draw the Fibonacci retracement at the 143 that we've seen here, we get to see a little bit that there is a Fibonacci retracement around 61, and then another one at around 78. So it basically oscillated around these two today. So that's a bit of why we can see a reversal that has happened today. But I'll go a little bit more detail into what is happening in this stock. Now, what we look at here is that the stock went from neutral today to oversold. And we can see that in the aftermarket that it has received a massive pullback. The average directional index appears to be fine at some point here, that it's actually probably around almost the same range as it started in with a slow recovery. So probably might be able to see that. We're going to be looking a little bit closer into the averages. So the 66 and the 63 on a 1 hour range looks beautiful. There is a support right now happening at 0.60. Once stock is above a resistance, the previous resistance becomes support. So it's at 0.60 is where this support is. And the next resistance that is going to probably meet is around 64. Now, looking into the 5 days, 1 hour region here, we can get to see that it has been a steady climb. Now, there was an offering that dropped the price from around 0.84 down to 0. I believe was 39 or something like that. And this is a day after. It's been seeing a bit of a nice climb. Now, even though that the EMA is above the SMA, 30 EMA is above the 10 SMA, you can still see that there was a slow climb up. Now, the stock has fixed itself from the 200 SMA at a 0.75 and has is now below it. Now you get to see that the stock has had a bit of a pullback, but again, it's receiving a bullish kick. So that's a good sign for me. Now we can get to see as well the stock did a little bit of something that is very interesting. It has received, well, in the pre-market, it has gone to closer to 74 and then had a pullback. And then it has reached around 80, and then it had a pullback to around 62, and then it had as well again reached around 71, and then had another pullback around 64 and 79, and we can see more if it's a pattern. And this pattern is basically you try to understand the psychology of other investors in there. And this could be considered something where you're shorting, right? So you're basically trying to get the most out of the stock that is highly volatile. They're selling at 80, going again, buying at 62, selling at 80 multiple times a day, and that can get a lot of profit. Now, with this much movement in the stock and this much back and forth that is happening, you can get to see that over here, right? You can get to see a bit of the movement that has happened here, that the stock will probably suffer in price a little, and that's what we've seen. Now, looking more around it to the 1 hour, 20, let's say 15-minute range, you get to see that the MACD bleeding is actually decreasing right now, and it's actually looking more into an upward range that we might see a bit of green in the day. So we can get to see here that it dropped, right? It had a pullback, and you can get to see a little bit similar behavior to what we've seen during the day. So it is highly possible that we start seeing the mid 60s tomorrow in the pre-market, and even maybe a 70 early on in the morning. So the trend of upward trends for a while now is actually a healthy trend to go back to what the price was before the offering. Now, another thing that I want to look at here is the news, right? So this stock has released today around 12:27. A form outlining, well, there's two forms actually, 13G, and I'll go through that in a second. But around midday, early on in the day, they've shared multiple things. First, the offering is closing out. Second thing is that they've shared 12 months results of CGuard EPS trials and information for the company, so that's good disclosure. And again, with the 13G, which is basically an institutional ownership, this has happened twice. This has happened yesterday, around noon, and today again. I'll go through it here in a second. So I'm going to go for the news for today. So the news today is basically just sharing that the company has had an institutional buy-in for the number of shares that is in there. And what we get to see in this form is that L1 Capital Global Opportunities Master Fund has bought around 1.2 million shares, and that's around 9.99% of the company right now. So that means it had a 10% buy-in. Now we've seen that as well again yesterday. So that means institutional are increasingly getting interested in this stock, which really flags something for me. The stock is probably worth investing in. So going back around 1 month, 1 day, 1 hour, you get to see that trend that we've received here, we've basically covered the gap. So the price has fell down back to close to 58, 57, and has closed that gap, and it is coming back upwards. Closing the gap is a term that is useful in terms of determining how the stock would move, and it's more of a sign of a healthy improvement in the stock. So that's been my DD for the NSPR for this ticker. If you would like me to include any other companies for their DD, please mention the tickers and down in the comment below, and I'll be happy to go over them. Once again, trade smart, do your own DD, and hopefully you'll get a green day. Have a wonderful day.